Welcome to today's class, and in today's class, we are going to be talking about JavaScript functions and callbacks, right? And how to write a function. But before we go into that, we would like to talk a little bit about what we did last week, right? And then introduce some new methods and maybe properties that we didn't talk about last week. And I know last week we talked about strings, we talked about number, and we talked about Boolean, at least the introductory part. So we'll go over that a bit and then introduce some new methods that I used for some of them, or for strings and numbers. Then we're also going to then come back into writing functions. Okay, so first, right? So let me share my VS Code. Let's go over to VS Code. Then we'll start from there. Okay, so I guess you guys can see. Okay, you guys can't see it yet. So I have to stop sharing and share again. I believe you guys can see my screen. And we are at VS Code. So last week, what we just did was we basically talked about strings, right? And I say something like const a equals to maybe hello. This is a string. Let me say let's b equals to 250, for example. This is basically a number, right? And let a equals to true. Let a equals to, or let c equals to true, because a is already declared here, right? This is a Boolean. Now, how do you know the difference between the three of them if you're given just a variable and you want to find out what type of that variable, what's the type of that variable? You can simply do this. You can simply say console.log type of, then in brackets, you pass the variable you want to check. So if you say type of A, for example, I save that and come back here and write npm if you have to. So if you look, this for people that let's say because if I write scripts, if I write NodeScript.js, it won't run. Scripts.js, it won't run actually, because I'm not in the working directory. I'm not in the directory where this scripts.js is. So I'll clear and let me increase the size of this so you guys can see it clearly. All right. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. I hope I'm more audible and you guys can hear me.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay, so let's say now this file I want to execute is inside documents, and then inside documents I'll see scripts.js, but I'm in the root, or not in the root, I'm in the home directory of my PC, right? So if I did ls and press enter, you would see I have a whole lot of files and folders. So if I did cd, which is change directory, of course, I'm in here. I'm in okay, book of junior. So if I said cd documents, right? Since so this sign here means I'm here. I'm in okay, GNR, right? So if I just write cd documents and I press enter, to take me into the documents folder. Then now I'm inside the documents folder. I can then execute this. I could say node scripts.js, then press enter. You see that it tells me that A is a type of string. Now, if you don't want to write it this way, you can also do this. You can write type of, then space, and write A, then save it. Now, some of you might also notice that I'm saving each time I make a change. I can make the saving automatic if I click file and I go to auto save. Once I click auto save, it will automatically save anything I do. So if I come back here and I look, auto save is checked, meaning that anything I do will be auto saved, automatically saved. So if I write that type of A, instead of putting brackets, I write it this way and I do the same execution. Clear, then I write node scripts.js. It still shows string. If I change this to B, right? Then I do clear and I write node scripts.js. Or even if you write nodes and scripts alone, it will understand that it will look for a JS file with the name script and then still execute it. So either way is accepted. So you see that is a number, and if we change this to C, then we come and clear and then write node script.js. You see that that's a boolean. Okay, so now I'll give a classic example of something. Now, each of these data types have what is called properties and methods, right? And when I started programming personally, I used to think, for example, if I was given a string that was in small letter strout, that's what was in lowercase strout, and I was told to make maybe the first letter of that string capital letter while the rest should be small letter. Most times I'd be like, why don't I just go and change the string back to capital letter? Why do I have to write code to change it, right? And I know that there's someone here that has that same thought process of why should I actually even go and change this? Like, why do I need to write a code to change it, or all those stuff? Or maybe reordering an array. You're like, why is it that I don't just manually sit and reorder it? So when you're building a production level project, the customers won't be sending their names to you to edit before you put it on the database. They always want to send it directly to the back end or to the database, and then they expect that manipulation to make sure that their details are properly recorded on the database will depend on what you write. Okay, so that's the usefulness or the advantage of knowing how to use most of these methods. And I'll start by commenting this to by commenting on down. So I want to start with string methods. So I remember apart from the string methods, I remember that the last time we had class, we talked about string properties. we talked about a string property called dot length. So if we say a dot, if we say a dot length, right? I remember I said this in the last class. It will give you the total number of characters in that string. So let's clear that. Now, let's look at how can we make this string go like everything in it. Let's say we want to convert this string to uppercase, right? We could say a dot to uppercase, right? A dot to uppercase, and then if we run that code, we see that we have hello. You can also use a dot to local uppercase. And I know someone will have the question, what's the difference between a dot to local lowercase and a to dot uppercase? So look at what he's saying. Now, the main difference is just that a dot to uppercase, right? To uppercase will just take the string you've supplied to it to uppercase without really considering the environment that code is being executed. But then to local uppercase will take into consideration the environment which that code is being executed, right? So taking into cognizance the environment is also going to take into cognizance the language that is being used on that particular PC, on that particular environment where this code is being executed. So it's going to check, is it English, right? Or it's by default going to treat it as English. But see, this one accepts an argument. So which means you can say, okay, maybe this to uppercase, the language I am trying to convert to uppercase is maybe French, and then it's a French word, so it will know how it's going to treat that particular word that you're trying to convert to uppercase. But so if we say to uppercase, like this, to uppercase, and we check it. So uppercase doesn't accept any argument. So it just collects the string and then takes it to uppercase without checking if there is any specific language it's supposed to consider while trying to convert that string to uppercase, right? We have dot split. So split is used to split a string, right, into different characters, maybe based on a condition. So now let's say you want to convert your string to an array. Okay, for example, let's say you're given a string that has a couple of names. Let's say Victor, Peter, John, Godswill, Matilda. And you want, now this is a string, but then you want to convert it to an array of names, an array of string that contains the name of each person, right? How would you want to do that? You would use split, right? But then you would say you want to split the name, but then you want to split by a separator. So now look, what is the common character that separates Victor from Peter?
Comma.
So what's the common string that separates Victor, Peter, John, Gospel, and Matilda? There is a common string, like there is a common character that repeats itself. What's that common character?
Right, that's comma now.
So just rather than unmute, just put it on the on the chat section. So people that said comma, you are 50% correct, because that's not only what is. That's not just the only thing that's separating it, isn't it?
A comma and a
It's not only
space.
comma. Look very well. Okay, cool.
Comma and space.
A comma and space. Springsville, Jeremiah said comma and space, and which is correct. Everybody's now saying comma and space, but before they were saying comma alone. So now, if I said I want to split by comma and space, and then I come back here and I run this. So let me clear it first. Clear. Then I come back and run that. You see that now I now have an array of strings. Now this is how an array looks like. The square brackets at the end. Then also, this is something I just that I just remembered. Right? The way people call different symbols in JavaScript. This is called parentheses. Or some people call it brackets. Brackets, just brackets. Then you see the one used for array. This is called square brackets. Or square brackets. These are parentheses or just brackets. These ones are called square brackets. Okay. Then while this one that is curly in a way is called curly brackets. Curly brackets, they are curled. But you see the difference between the three of them. This one is bent, right? Which is like parentheses, or you just say brackets. No, well, okay. Yeah, or brackets, right? Then you say this one is still a bracket, but it's a square bracket. It's not bent like the first one. While this one is a curly bracket, or you call it or curly braces. Not only brackets that are called, they are also called curly braces. So in case you hear curly braces, you know what we are referring to. Okay, so we now have, now that was by the way, right? We now have this splitted into, now we have an array of, or a list of names, and we could also say this is an array of strings, right? So what if we did not pass anything here? What if we just left it empty? Let's see what that will give us. So that should split the string, individual string, and make it an element in the array, right? So let's see. Okay. Sorry. That just still gives us back the string. I think if I did this and I run it, that's when it will actually split everything to be, each character to be an element in an array, in the array. So look at it. Okay. So depending on what you want, right? Depending on what you want, you can use this to your advantage, right? Does anybody have any question to ask, right? Based on what I've explained so far. So we've talked about to local uppercase. We've talked about to uppercase. So it's the same way we have to local uppercase, or to local uppercase and to uppercase, and then to local lowercase and to lowercase. Oh, sorry, we also have to local lowercase and to lowercase also. Okay, and they also follow the same principle as how to local uppercase and to uppercase behaves, right? So then let's see what else we have. A dot index of So what does index of do, right? First, index of accepts an argument, which is the string you want to find, or the index of the string you want to find in the string, right? Or the index of character, the character index you want to find in the string. This is what I mean, right? Let's take, for example, this string that contains all these characters. If we said a at the index of 0, what do you think that should give us as a result? A, right? But we are looking for the string at the index of 0. What would be the result? Anybody? No, no, not no. Okay. Yes, Modinat and things will. That's correct. So if I said index at the index of 0, A, then I'm looking for the character at the index of 0. It's going to check what is this is the string A, like this is the value of the string A, but what is the character at the index of 0? It's V. So if I say node script.js, okay, sorry, A at the index of, oh, sorry, this accepts the string you're looking for. So if I said A at the index of V, that would give us 0. Sorry. So if I said C, the index of C, so I'm finding the index of C, right? So it's important to understand what this character or what these methods accept as arguments, what they accept, what can be passed to them, and what they accept as arguments, right? So if I said C and then I clear this and I run node in script.js, you see that that's 2. So if we come back here, we say V is at the index of 0, I is at the index of 1, then C would be at the index of 2. Now, this returns the first occurrence for the index. For example, if I said I'm looking for the index of the string T, the index of the string T, and I press enter, it's going to return this first T because it's the first occurrence of T in the array. It won't return the second occurrence or the third occurrence. It will start counting from here. Is V what we are looking for? No. Is I what we are looking for? No. Is C what we are looking for? No. But is T what we are looking for? Yes. Return T, and then that's all. Okay. Then we can also check, right? We can also check if the string A includes a certain character. For example, we can test to see, does A contain Matilda, right? So we can use includes, right? So includes is going to ask, or includes is going to check if what we are searching for is included in that string, right? So we will now pass a search string here. So the search string is, let me say I'm looking for Victor, for example. I'll say, is Victor part of that string? And what I'm going to get in return or in response is going to be a boolean, which is going to tell me, oh, Victor exists in that string, or Victor doesn't exist in that string. Looking here, you see that it's true that Victor actually exists in the string of characters here. But let's take, for example, let's say we're building a production level project, and then we couldn't even see the value of this this string, but we just knew that we'll fetch it from the back end. Maybe we'll query an ID and the ID will return a record for us. And then we know that there's something like maybe first name. I want to check if the first name is Victor. So this is a good way to check it. Or this is a way to do it, right? So I'll say clear node scripts.js, then I run it. You see, it's saying it's true that Victor exists, or the character that starts, that has VICTOR, right, exists in this string. Now, if I changed this to maybe capital V, if not, it's going to throw a false. So if I say clear, I don't know why I like typing index. So you see, so includes also checks. In fact, of course, we know that Victor with small letter V and Victor with capital letter V are actually two different strings, right? In JavaScript. JavaScript is case sensitive. So saying if I named this variable A or this constant A in capital letter and I try to use it here, it's not going to work. It's going to, A is going to be assigned, declared and assigned, right? But here, trying to do this, it would say something like maybe A doesn't exist also. If you try to execute this, it's going to throw an error. It's saying A is not defined. That's to tell you that A and A are not actually the same. That's A in small letter and A in capital letter. They are not the same in JavaScript. So that's, we've done index of, we've also looked at includes, right? And also, if you're, this includes also exists in arrays. So you can check if an array includes an element also, okay? You can also check if an array includes an element. Okay. So let's see. So let's check character art, right? So character art is what I was trying to do at index of first. So if I say character at 0, at position 0, and I come here and then say node script, character at the index of 0 is V, so it returns V. Character at the index of 24. Character at the index of 24. S. So if you start counting down here, this should be character 24. This S here. Okay. So you can use this to get individual characters in your string. Then also you can slice your string, and the concepts of slicing. So now let me also say this. For character arts, if you try to search for a character that's the position for a character art that doesn't exist, maybe I say like 500, it should return a -1. It should return something to tell me that that doesn't exist. Okay, it doesn't return anything actually. Character at 500, nothing. It's I was expecting it to say maybe a -1 or so, but it's saying it's not even showing anything here. Then if we tried that with index of, let me see what character is not here. Z is not there, right? So if I say Z, I try to run it. Okay, index of returns a -1. So -1 means, oh, it's not there, it's not in the string, it's nowhere to be found, right? So that's why you have a -1 here. But if the character exists, like maybe W, we know that W is somewhere there, it returns the the position of that character, right? Returns the position of that character. But then includes, sorry, index of returns an empty string. So index of 100, index of 200. Sorry, is it includes character at, character at 200 returns and this should be an empty string that it returns, either an empty string. Yeah, it returns an empty string. So to tell you that there is no character there. Okay, then let's see. That's character at. Then let's look at slicing dot slice. So all these are methods. And how do you differentiate methods from properties? Now, methods, or let me say properties don't use parentheses. So for example, you will not see me write a.length, and then I'll now put bracket like this, or let's say length, and I now put a bracket like this. This is wrong because it's not a method, it's a property. So that's why you have it like a.length. But if you look at the examples we've had apart from length, length is by the way, length is the only string, the only string property you have, or the only property you have for a string. The rest are actually methods. So the rest, apart from length, are actually methods. So all this, I know that we actually called all of them with brackets at the end. For example, we said character at, then we had brackets there. You see? So that's how it works. So let's see dot slice. So slice is used to, as the name implies, slice data, slice characters in a string. For example, if I want to slice out Victor from the string, we'll check 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we should start at character 7 to slice. Let's see what that result will be. Okay. You see, so it slices out from the beginning. For example, if we want to slice out maybe to get only the character Peter, and we know where to start slicing from and where we want to end slicing from. We know that P starts from here, then we say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's see. Now, this one is me slicing from the position of 7 to the end of the string. While if I want to slice from a position to another position, I could say, for example, from 7 to 12. Then if I clear and run it again. Okay, so that would be position 13. Of course, you see, we've been able to slice out Peter, right? So let me see if I change this to 8, what will happen? Okay, so there was a space at the end, and sorry about that. So from the position 8 to position 13 is where the word Peter, or the character for the word Peter, exists at. That's what I've been able to slice out now. Okay, then also if you don't want to use character at, right? So I said character at 12, for example. Character at 12 is R. Instead of that, you can use square brackets here. You can say A at 12. Then if you run it, it will still give you exactly the same result. So if you don't want to use character at, you can use this brackets. So the way JavaScript, or the way most programming languages treat strings, they treat strings as an array of characters. Although those characters, okay, yeah, a string is an array of characters, right? So that's how most programming languages treat strings. That's why you can actually get a character in that string by its index. So I hope you guys are following. Is there anybody that is confused at this point and wants to ask any question? Is there anybody that is not following at all? Anybody? So you can actually be jotting these things down too, because at the end of the day, you would really, really need them when you want to answer programming questions, or you want to build a platform. Funny enough, all these platforms you guys are using that you love and you wonder how they built them. These are the basic commands they use, just that you need to understand how to use them together. Okay, so Johnson is saying, I don't understand that of includes. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's come back here. So let's come back here. I think what I should do is I should bring this string closer here so that you guys can see it very clearly, right? So someone is saying he doesn't understand includes, right? So let's say a dot includes. So now what you're saying is, does the string a include something? Does the string a includes Johnson? If you check this string, there's no character that starts with J and then has OHNSON, like literally like that, right? There's no character here. So if we try that, it's going to return a false because there's no character that starts with J, and then after J there's O, after O there's H, after H there's N, after N there's S, after S there's O, after O there's N. There's no character that has, or there's no set of character that has that same arrangement in this string. That's why it is returning a false. So this is simply saying in the string A, right, there is no character that is this way, that there's no character as Johnson. There's no character that starts with J and then has O, H, and S, O, N after the J. Like there's no character like that. Okay, but we can do this. We can say is there any character like VIC in this string? Right? Is there any character like that? Then if we execute this, you see true. And this is because there is a character like that here. See it here, VIC. Even if we did not complete it, but as far as there is a place where you have this character in your string, then that is a all right. So Johnson, I hope that's I hope I cleared you on that. I hope you understand how includes now works. Okay, cool. Martins, hope you can actually relate. So the best way, now, this is one thing. The best way for you to understand programming is to try these things that I have done, right? Is to try these things I've done. Rewatch this video, try it on your own, see the results, compare it with the result I had, then see how you can play around with it to get other results. And then when you're confident that, oh, okay, I understand this particular method, you can move to the next one, try it out, pass in arguments, read about it, and all those things. Because if this is totally new to you, you get at this point, it might not really you might not really understand everything, right? But watching it again, trying it, rehearsing, um, um, redoing, and tweaking it to see what the result is going to be, right? That will really help you as a developer. That will really help you as a developer. Uh, so that's how includes actually work. So local, so let me just go by it. Local uppercase actually takes things up, like it takes a character and make it up, makes it uppercase, right? And then it makes it uppercase depending on the environment that it finds itself. And also if you pass the choice of language that is you're going to use to convert it to uppercase, it's going to take cognizance of that. Then index of it's just finding the index of a character. So you pass a character to index of, and it's going to find where that character is. Okay. Then includes is used to find a string in an array. It's used to find set of characters, or a set of character, or a string inside maybe a variable that is also a string, right? Then character at is used to find or to return the value of a character, or to return, yeah, the character value at an index. So if you say character at the index of 0, it should return v. Then I just mentioned that slice is used to slice, as the name implies. It slices, which means you can use it to extract a portion of your string and then use that to do what you want to do. Okay. So then let's see. So you can check if a string, can we also use, so Emmanuel is asking, can we also use the include method to find an object in an array? Yes, you can use includes to find, so includes is used on strings and includes is also used on arrays. So you have an array. Now it's not just that you have an array of objects, you have an array of elements. So the elements could be a string, could be a number, could be an array, right? An array can have properties which are also array. An array can also have properties which are like objects. You get? So depending on what you're looking for, right? Or depending on the shape of your array, right? Then you can then look for elements, right? So you use it the same way. You use it the same way that I used it. If the string includes, then you pass in what you're looking for. Then if it exists, it is going to send it back to you. Okay, so we can check if our string ends with DA. So this should return a boolean to you. So if we say node scripts.js, so it ends with DA, right? We can check if it ends with LDA. If it ends with LDA, still true. We could check if it ends with Matilda. True. You see? So you can check if it ends with A. True. But of course, if we said we want to check if it ends with E or ER, let's say ER, for example, that would give us a false, because it's not true that this string ends with ER, it ends with DA. There is also starts with. So we've done ends with. Or ends with. Now, if people remember that thing I talked about the other day, I talked about this. I talked about the name casing. So you see that this is already camel case. These are already camel case, right? So it's also expected that your variable should also follow suit, follow that naming, right? So if I said, does this string start with VIC? True. Yes, it starts with VIC. Does it start with V? True. It starts with V. Does it start with ER? False. Doesn't start with ER. So, cool. So this ends with is used to test your string, to check if your string ends with a particular set of characters, while starts with is used to check if your string starts with a particular set of characters. So this starts with, if it ends with this, or if it starts with this, okay? So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now there are actually more. There are a lot. If I just wrote a dot, you're going to see a number of them, a number of them, a number of them. See? Now, as I can't go through all this for you, right? You're going to, and some of these are actually deprecated. I guess that's why they have this dash mark on them. So you're actually going to make, you are going to make a research. You're going to, this a challenge, or should I say a take-home assignment for you guys. Go on the internet, check for what these things do and its examples, right? And I'll show you somewhere you can actually get that information from for free. For free. So how many of you have heard of MDN, Mozilla Developer Network? So if you go to developer.mozilla.org, I know you guys can't see it, so let me share. So if you come here, Mozilla Development Network, that's developer.mozilla.org. You come to learn. Once you hover on learn, or is it references? If you come to JavaScript references, you should see where is it? Built-in objects. You should, from built-in objects, when you expand built-in objects, you come here to string. You click on string. When you click on string, you'll see a description. You see the constructor, how it is being called. You'd then see the methods. Okay. To uppercase, to lowercase, right? Then what else? String correction. You see like more details into these things. Constructor. Now, static methods, string dots, remove character code from code points, raw, string prototype and the constructor at. So don't worry, just your string dot at, your string dot character at. So string dot character at is what is one of the methods we treated. You see a lot of them. So if let's click on one we've done before already. So like let's click on character at. Right. Once you click on character at, you see definition and the example, right? Character at this. So you see the index it returns the index, right? Okay, sorry, it returns the character at that index that you're looking for. So the character at the index of 4 is Q in this string, you see, and you can read even more detail into what is going on and how it's being used. And you can even see the browser support. You see that it's supported by Chrome, Edge, Firefox. It's supported by all browsers, plus the back end, plus your runtime environment, sorry, which is a Node.js, right, and others, right. And then you even see recommendation on the next one to learn from. So you can use this to learn. You see how many of them here. See includes that we just talked about. See index of. See others actually. Right? This is very, very important to do. Very important to do. Okay. So let's go back. Having said that, I think I'll drop the link to that platform. It's very important as a developer to use that platform to learn. So I'll drop the link on the chat section so you guys can always use it. Okay, I've done that. Right. Then let's move to strings. Let's move to strings quickly. Right. I'm done with introduction to using strings. Okay. Now let's move to numbers. And I remember that numbers don't have, if I did if I did something like this and I said type of B, what would type of B be? What do you think type of B will be? Anybody? Guess. Okay. Type of B will be a string. Smart. Okay. Smart. So it's now converted to a string because it's in quotes. What if I did this? What would type of B be? Will it still okay. Someone is saying a string while someone is saying a number. Okay. Okay, cool. So it will still be a string, actually. It will still be a string. Now, okay, yeah, okay. I get. Right. I removed the double quotes and I replaced them with single quotes, and then I asked if it will still be a string. Right. Okay. So let me remove these quotes and then let's see what we can do with it. Now, there are basic arithmetic operators. Of course, you know, when you're talking about number, you can't convert a number to uppercase. For example, I can't say b dot to local uppercase or to uppercase. My compiler will look at me and be like, what is going on with this guy? See? It's telling you that to uppercase is not a function. B dot to uppercase is not a function because B is a string and you cannot apply string methods to string methods or properties. You can't apply string methods or properties to numbers, right? You can't do that. It's not allowed, right? Now, the only thing you can do, well, okay, one of the things you can, one of the what's it being called? One of the methods you can call is dot to string, right? If you don't want to manually come and put a quote on B to make it a string, you can actually turn it to a string like this. So let's print this twice. Let's print this as B, and let's print it as this is going to print it as a number, and this is going to print it as a string. Now, what JavaScript or what NodeJs is going to do to make you understand that one is a string and one is a number is it's going to color the number yellow, while it's going to color the string white. So let's come here, let's clear this. Then let's say node script.js. So it colors the number yellow, right? Which is this first line. Then it colors the string white. So if you see it in yellow, just know that, okay, this is a number that it's printing out. But if it's in white, you know that, okay, this is actually a string. This is a string. Okay. I hope there's no question on that. So apart from to string, there is to fixed, to precision, to local string. Okay, this to local string is considering the what's it being called? Yeah, the environment again, that code is being executed. Okay. And then you see there is value of this to string, there is precision, local string, to fixed, and to exponent. And then you can actually research on them. Let me see, for exponential, b dot fraction, let's say, okay, so it's in fractional digits. So let's see what this does. What does it do? So number of digits after decimal points, okay, must be a range of 0 and inclusive. Returns a string containing a number represented in an exponential notation. So 0.5552. Let's see what it's going to do. So it returns that in what? It returns a string containing number represented in exponential notation. Okay. Okay. So let's say 5002. Oh, let's say 5000. Okay. What is it saying now? Must be an integer between 1 and 100. Okay. So let's say, okay, the exponential, oops, the exponential 9. Okay. So it returns this in exponential form. Adding these zeros, that's adding 9 zeros to it. So we say 250, 1, 2, 3, 4, like we move the decimal points to the right 9 times. So that's what it's trying to do. So if we had, let's say if we had 0.25, then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we clear this out, and then we try to run it. So we see that it's okay. It gives us 2.5. 2.5 times 10 raised to the power of -1. So this e here is the same thing as saying times 10 raised to the power of -1. So the e here is times 10, while the -1 is like saying times 10 raised to the power of -1. So this is like in its exponential in B in its exponential form. So b in its exponential form is going to be this times 10 raised to the power of -1, right? Then, let's look at others. Let's look at other things we can do here. 25. We can apply arithmetic operators here. So let's say, let's C equals to, let's C equals to 2, for example. Or let's C equals to 2, and then let this equals to 50. So now, how do we add these two numbers? We can say, let result equals to B plus C. And then you console.log the value of result. Okay. For people that feel I am fast and want me to recap, I want to recap. I assigned 50, the value of 50 to the variable B. That's one thing I've done here. Then the second thing is I now assign the value of 2 to the variable name C. So C is just the name. For example, you are a variable, but I have once I mention your name, you know that you're the one I'm calling. That's what's happening here. So I'm saying anytime I call B, 50 should be what should be referenced. While anytime I call C, right, 2 should be what is referenced. Then I say B plus C. That is going to, when this is going to run, this is going to make sure that B is changed or is referenced the value of 50, while C is referenced or replaced with the value of 2. Then the both numbers are added, and then the result of adding those both numbers are saved to a new variable named result. Okay, then after that, I log out the value of result here. So logging out the value of result will give us the result or the answer to adding these both numbers. So if we clear this and then we say NodeScript.js, then we execute it again, we see we have 52. That's it. So to add, you use the plus sign. Use the plus sign to add. To subtract, use the minus sign or the dash in terms of string, but minus in terms of arithmetic. So if we say minus, that's clear. Come back here, you see we have 48. Then if you want to divide, you use the / there. So we know that using / is going to divide. So dividing 50 into 2, like dividing 50 into 2 portions will give it 25 on each portion. So clear, the answer is going to be 25, right? That's dividing both. Then multiplying. So if you want to multiply, you don't use X, which most of you think it might be X, maybe. It's not X, it's asterisk. So use this asterisk symbol. You know, that way you're dialing *123# or *310#, people that have passion for checking balance, you know, your credit balance, airtime balance, sorry. You'd use asterisk. Sorry, that's the code to check. For people not in Nigeria, that's the code to check your account balance in your airtime balance, right, in Nigeria. So asterisk is what is used to represent multiplication. So I want to multiply two values, 2 and 50, or 2 by 50, or 50 by 2, either ways. So if I run that, we'll see that we have 100 there. Then run it again, we see that we have 100 as the result here. Okay. Then what else? Then if you want to raise 50 to the power of 2, right? If you want to raise 50 to the power of 2, right? So let's see how to do that. If you want to do that, you just put double asterisk symbol. So that's double asterisk symbol. So if we do that, node scripts, that's 2,500. That's so this is saying 50 raised to the power of 2. That's b raised to the power of c. So that is the same thing as saying 50 raised to the power of 2, which is the same thing as writing 50 times 50. That will now give you 2,500. Okay. Then if you want to find out the remainder after dividing two values, you would use the percentage symbol. So percentage symbol. So I think I should start labeling this. This should be add. This should be an add symbol. This should be subtract symbol. This should be a divide symbol. This should be multiply. It should be a multiply symbol. It should be what this should be a power symbol. Power or I call it power symbol, no? Mostly. Yeah, window they use. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, so we call this the modulus. Why modulus now being capital letter? Modulus symbol. So let's say if you're dividing 50 by 2, there's no remainder, right? So let's clear this out. Let's clear and then let's run node index, node script.js. So dividing that's 50 divided by 2 will give 25 without any remainder, right? That's why you have 0 there, because there's no remainder. But let's do 25. Yeah, so that would be dividing it would have a remainder actually. So that would be 2 times 12 would be 24, then remainder 1. So the answer would be 24. I'm sorry, the answer would be 12, remainder 1, right? Of course, if this was 24, there would have been no remainder actually. So that's it actually. These are the symbols for those. Then also, they are also, well, this one isn't limited to just strings, numbers. You can also compare strings, right? So wait, I don't mean this. These ones are arithmetic symbols. So you call these arithmetic symbols. They are used for arithmetic expressions. Okay. Someone might ask, how do you how do you raise to the, okay, how do you do square roots, for example, right? And I hope you are aware that a square root is the same thing as saying a number raised to the power of half. For example, 100 raised to the power of 0.5. That's 10, because 10 times 10, 10 raised to the power of 2 is 100. So if we say 10 raised to the power of 2, 10 raised to the power of 2 is the same thing as 10 times 10. Oh, sorry, 10 raised to the power of 2, which is 100 there. So if you want to find out the square root of 100, you can simply say 100 raised to the power of 0.5. And 0.5 is the same thing as 1 all over 2. So you're saying 100 raised to the power of half, right? So that would give you 10. Of course, so cube roots, it's raised to the power of 1 over 3. So, and 1 over 3 is the same thing as 0.3333333. So that's one funny thing. If we said 1 divided by 3, we have trailing trees that are going to be there, 0.3333333. So you could say 100 raised to the power of, if you want to find the cube root, 0.3333333. Maybe 3, maybe another 3, maybe one more 3, and maybe an extra 3. Right. So if you do that, it will give you the results you desire. Right. Then, so I wanted to go into symbols you can use to compare two things, but before we do that, I want to talk about the maths, mathematics symbol, right? Or the math JavaScript objects. Sorry. Now, this is limiting. If this is the only set of things that JavaScript can do in terms of number, this is limiting. And also, let me tell you, JavaScript knows numbers as numbers. Finish. Numbers. So for people coming from other programming languages that you have floating point numbers, you have what else? You have, yeah, floating point numbers or decimals and all those stuff. JavaScript doesn't care actually, right? It's still, so if we said 100.00 or 100.00, and then JavaScript takes all these things as numbers. Okay, so simple. Type of result is number. Now I wanted to talk about maths, the math operator. Okay, so you could actually say maths dot. Now, this math can also be referred to as a library that comes with JavaScript, right? And this math library has in stock all the extra maths functions that you might want to use for calculations. For example, if you want, that trigonometric stuff we used to do in secondary school, tan, cos, cosine, cotan, tangent, all those things, how to find the tangent or cosine or this of maybe whatever mathematical problem you're given, right? It has all those. So to find the cosine, you use cos. For you to find tan, or for you to find the sine, is here. There's tan here. There's square roots. There's square roots here. There are others. To raise something to the power of another thing, you can do that. You can find out the minimum. Okay, I think while I'm saying this thing, it might be sounding like magic to some of you guys. So I'm going to touch on some of them. Now, you guys know of pi, 22/7, 3.142, right? Apart from pi, that is popularly used in mathematics, which you can find here, right? Then, so if we sorry, this is for Euler's number, but we are not working with Euler's number now. Let's look at pi, for example. Let's clear that. So if we wanted to check for pi and we said NodeScript.js, okay, we are checking for the type, no? So let's remove the type and let's clear this and then try to run it again. You see, the value of pi is 3.14159, and so on and so forth. But if this is if the value after this one is up to 5, right? Like it's from 5 and upwards, right? Then you have to round it. You have to round the digits there. So you now have 3.142 if you want to round it up. Okay, so I was talking about the absolute symbol or the absolute function, sorry. And I said the absolute function is used to get the positive or the non-negative value for a number. So whether it's signed or it's unsigned, maybe if it's a number, right? It's going to return the absolute, which is the non-signed version of that particular number. Okay, so that's it for absolute. Then another one, which is quite interesting, is .random. I think I've mentioned this random before in class also. I said random is used to create random numbers between or random numbers that are less than they are less than 1, but they are not equal to 0. So it would always give you a decimal number like 0 point something something, 0 point something something, 0 point something something. Always, every time it's always going to give you a random number, but that random number is always going to be, that random number is never going to equal 0, but it's going to be greater than 0, but less than 1. So math.random will not give you 1 point something in any way. It always give you 0 point something something something, like 0 point, then some numbers at the end. So let's check this out. Let's run it. So we have that. If we run it again, you see it's giving random numbers. Now, for people that might be curious, this is how your OTP is being created. Okay, but if people don't know, I don't know if people know about it. For people that maybe they used to see OTP, and they be like, how these people used to generate 4 random digits and then send to me, or 6 random digits or 8 random digits and send to me. You can use this to do that. So let's see how we can actually make this an OTP. You know that results would be the result of your OTP or the result of the random your random the random number that is generated. So if we wrote results times 1000, right? First, that will give us the OTP part, but it will still have the decimal part. Okay, so 943.24.819. Okay, so it's not giving us 3 digits at every time. It's not giving us. So if we said 10,000, let's see. Okay, so that now gives us 4 digits. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 digits. But then this 4 digits still comes with this part, which we don't need. So we can do something like, you can say math.round. Okay, and we'll look at what math.round does. So if we do that, and we now have perfect 4 digits. If we want to make it 6 digits, you just add 2 zeros here. That's 6 digits. If you want to make it 8 digits, you add extra zeros, 2 zeros again. So you now have 8 digits. So let me take it back to 4 digits again. So 4 digits, sorry. So in case this doesn't generate 4 digits for you at a time, what you can do is you can convert it to string and check the length of that string. So if the length of the string is not equals to 4, which means it's either less than 4 or greater than 4, then you can decide to regenerate the OTP or the 4 digits before sending it to the user, so that it will never generate 3 digits at a time at any time. But it won't be able to send 3 digits if it by chance generates 3 digits. Okay. Okay, so Daniel C is asking, is it possible for maths inbuilt function to generate a particular random number twice? Yes, yes, but that possibility is very low. It's very low, but it's not impossible. It's possible. Yes, it's possible. So you should use this. So now, if you want to generate something that should have unique IDs for everybody, then that means per person you save. In fact, if you want to generate a platform that each and everybody has a unique ID, you should use something like an ID generator. For example, there is what is called UUID, Universal Unique Identifier. You look for the library for UUID and then use it on your application, right? Or you can decide to increment a particular digit each time you create a record. For example, if you want to have the record of users and then each user should have a unique ID, you can make it that once you save the first user, you assign that user the ID of 1, and then you save the next ID, which is going to be 2, and keep it somewhere. And then when the next user comes to register, you save that user with the ID of 2, then you increment the digits somewhere. Although, if you're using a database like SQL, that can be done by the database automatically for you. So when you say round, right, you're saying as far as the number is greater than 4, then just add 1 to the whole number. As far as this number is greater than 0, round it up. So if I say 25, right, 25 is still going to give me 25 because the number after the decimal point is 0. But once it's 25.1, right, and then I call math.seal, right, it's going to give me 26 because at least this number is greater than 0. That's why it's giving me 26, right? Math.seal. But if this number is 0, then it's going to still give me 25. So math.sealing is going to check if this number is greater than, if it's greater than 0, then round it up for me. But if it's 0, right, then just give back the whole number. But then we have math.floor. So math.floor is saying no matter what the number is here, just round it down. Always round it down. If we have 25 here, and then we call math.floor, we are going to still have 25. Even if this is 25.6, right, and we clear this and I try running that, it's still giving me 25 because it's always going to round it down, right? That's why we have math.floor, always going to round it down. So we've so far, what have we talked about in terms of maths? So the maths objects or library. So we've talked about apps, which is for absolute number. We've talked about random, which is used to generate random number. Talked about seal, which is used to round up numbers. We've talked about floor, which is used to round down numbers. Then we've talked about round, which is used to numbers, which is used to round. Rounding is just basically going to check as far as the number after the decimal point is greater than or equal to 5, then round up, else round down. Okay. So apart from that, there are still others you can go through. There are still plenty others here. So for example, if we say POW, let's see, what does this one do? Resist is so it returns a value of a base expression taken. So you pass a number and the power you want to, or the exponents, and it's called exponents, right? You want to raise that number to. So 2 raised to the power of 5, 2 times 4, 4 to 8, 32. So let's see the results. What that result will give us. That gives us 32 actually. So I noticed that there might be some people that are lost currently. So if you're lost, indicate on the chat. Let's see where you lost out on, and then where we can actually pick you up from, and then run again. So just indicates if you understand what I've taught so far, although I understand that the network hasn't been stable, but that's not how do I put it? Well, that's something I can't control from my end, and also I apologize for that. But if you're not following, you can as well say it now. Mention the where you missed out on or where you lost out on, and then I can go back there and start again. Okay, so Johnson is saying that he lost out when I started explaining the seal or the ceiling, floor, and round numbers. Okay, so let's go back to that. Okay, now let me explain how the rounding works, right, in mathematics, right? When you say you're rounding a number, you're trying to say that first, that number has to that number has to be a decimal number, right? So you're rounding up a number, right? Now, or you're rounding a number, let's say you're rounding a number, right? And let's take, for example, that number is 22.2. Now, the law of rounding a number states that the number after the decimal should be higher than 5 for it to be able to add 1 to the whole number. So let's take, if for example we have 22.4, is 4 greater than or equal to 5? No. So since 4 is not 5 and 4 is not also greater than 5, so you can't, what you just do at that point when you're trying to round a number is you just return the whole number. But then if you're rounding up a number, you're trying to say whatever number you're given, decimal number you're given, as far as the number after the decimal point is greater than 0, round up the number. So when you're saying, so now, when you're saying round up, you're just trying to say add add a digit to the whole number if the digit after the decimal is greater than 0. That's if you're rounding up. But if you're rounding down a number, you're saying you basically you don't really care about what comes after the decimal, right? All you're just doing is getting the result of the whole number. Now, this is what I mean, for example. Let me comment that. Let's start from random. Sorry, let's start from round. So if we have something like this, when we run this code, what we are going to just get is 50 because this is less than 5, so we are not, it's not going to round up, it's just going to round it down and send the results. If here we can look at, run this code again, we say 50.5, and since we have 5 here, which meets the criteria for rounding up, we are going to round up this number, right? Or the compiler is going to round up and send the rounded version of this particular number, which is 51. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Johnson. Okay. Then if you said math.floor, math.floor is just simply saying no matter the number, just round it down. No matter the number. So 50.5 will still be 50, 50.8 will still be 50, 50.2 will still be 50. As far as 50, whether it has a number that's 0 or a non-zero number after the decimal point, round it down, right? But then seal is used when you want to round up every time. So now this seal is going to make sure CEIL, sorry. So this seal is going to make sure that as far as the number that is after the decimal, round it up. So, but if it is 0, it will not round it up. If it's 0, it still give us 50. But if this is at 50.1, for example, it's going to round it up. 50.2 is going to round it up. 50.8 is going to still round it up. So That's the main difference between floor, ceiling, and round, or floor, seal, and round. Does it make sense, Johnson? Does it make sense now? Okay, right. Okay, so that was by the way, right? So we've printed all this in that time. Okay. Then I wanted to talk about what you can use as a comparison operator. So comparison operator. So now we're entering booleans, right? We're entering booleans gradually. So of course, a boolean is either a true or false, a true or false, right? Finish. Simple. But then you're not just going to be passing through or just passing false. You're going to want to compare two values, two or more values, to see if they are true or false before you can get the boolean, right? Or you call a function that returns a boolean, right? That's where you can actually get the boolean result most times. So you can use greater than, right? You can use greater than to compare two values. You can use this, which is less than. You can use greater than or equal to. So this is greater than or equal to. Then we have this, which is less than or equal to. Then we have not equal to. And then we have not, we have this, we have equal to, or yeah. Then you have not equivalent to. So this is a and then you have equivalent to, which is a triple dash, triple equal to sign, which is equivalent to. So what's then we have the negation symbol, which just gives the opposite one. If you put this beside something that's supposed to be true, it will make it false. If you put it beside what is supposed to be false, it's going to make it true. Short and simple. Okay. So less than, also how do you do this? So let's see. Let's start with less than. So we can say is 5 less than 2, right? Is 5, no, sorry, is 5 greater than 2? Sorry, is 5 greater than 2? Greater than, that's the greater than symbol. According to here, that's greater than. So is 5 greater than 2? That's going to give you a true. Is 5 less than 2? False, right? Is is 5 greater than 5? False. Is 5 greater than 5? That's going to be a false. But is 5 greater than or equals to 5? True. Because 5 is not actually equals to 5, right? 5 is not equals to 5, but sorry, 5 is not greater than 5, which is true. But 5 is actually equals to 5. So that's why it's giving that. So you can also do that with less than. Is 5 less than or equals to 5? It will still give you a true, because 5 is equals to 5. You're checking if it's either greater than, sorry, if it's actually less than, if 5 is actually less than 5, or 5 is equals to. 5, any of those two. Okay, so I said that we can use any of these any of these ones, any of these four to compare strings. So you can say is hello equals to hello. Of course, this should give a true. But of course, his hello in small with capital H equals to hello with small h, right? That is going to give a false. All right, then let's talk a little bit about function. So what's a function? A function is just simply a block of code that is callable and that can accept parameters and then return a value. For example, I could write a function that should add two numbers. So I could say add two numbers. So this is how you write the function. For people that don't know, you use the function keyword, then you declare the function of the name of the function, then the parameters that function would use. So if you don't have any parameters, you give an empty parenthesis here, then you have the body of the function in a curly bracket. So I could say add two numbers, and then I could say const results should be equals to maybe 2 plus 3, right? Then I'll say return result. Of course, what is happening here is that now what is happening here is I just have a function that I call to add two numbers, but then the two numbers are hard coded here, right? And then I'm returning the result of those two numbers simply. Now, if you call this function, if you call this script, nothing is going to happen actually. Nothing is going to happen. These numbers are not actually even being added. But the compiler knows that you've written this function, right? Or the interpreter knows that you've written this function. The runtime environment knows that. But why is it that it's not doing anything? That's because you have not called your function. So that if you want to call your function, you write the name of the function like this, add two numbers, and then you put your curly braces. But doing this now will add the both number, but will not show you the result. So if you come back here and you still run it again, .js, it has added both number and it has returned the result, but there's nothing you're doing with the result actually. You're just calling the function, but when the result is being returned, you're not doing anything with it. So what you could do is you can wrap this in a console.log, and then you say add two numbers, and you call it that way. Now, what is going to happen is after adding these two numbers, it sends the result back, and then you'll be able to log out the result as the result is returned. So this is going console, and then we write node script. You see that we added const, you can say value of what the function should return would be equals to add two numbers, and then you can print out the value. So clear, and then come back here and run node script. So what happens is after the result is computed, the result is returned as a variable and is assigned to the the result 5 is returned as a value and is assigned to the variable named value. Then you print it out. That's how you have this console.log and then the value here. Okay. That's how that is being done. Okay, someone is saying something. Okay. So you can save up anything, yeah, but it has to be with the .js name at the end. Okay. It has to be with the .js network already at the end. Then, what else do we have to do? So this is how to basically pass a function, but then how do you pass a function that accepts dynamic inputs, right? How do you pass this thing? How do you pass dynamic inputs to a function? So if you have, for example, A, then you have B. These are called parameters. When you're defining your function, they are called parameters. So you can say you want to add A and B, right? That way. Now, since you have parameters here, when you're calling the function, you need to pass in arguments. So the arguments is going to map to the parameters that you've stated here. For example, you can say that the value of A should be 20, and then the value of B should be 50. So the value of A will be 20, while the value of B will be 50, right? And then if you call that function that way, you'll see that you have 70 as your result, okay? That's basically about function. Then the last one would be how to use a callback function. So this is how a callback function works, right? You have something like this. Now, what is a callback function is just a function that's passed to another function as a parameter. It's as simple as that. So this is how to write something that is a callback function. You can write result should be equals to A plus B. Then the next thing you would do here is you would say, you have A, you have B, and then you have something like callback. And then this callback here would be the result of adding A and B. So you see, after adding the result of A and B, you pass the result as a parameter or as an argument to the callback function. So this is how you do it. You say callback, and then you pass in result here. So if you do that, Johnson, you're unmuted. Can you mute? Then Emmanuel, kindly make me the host of the class. Emmanuel. Okay, so if we do this, right? How would we want to call this function? This is how we would call it. Would say add two numbers, and then you'd pass the value for A, which is maybe you could say 25. B should be 20. Then the value of the callback would be a function, an anonymous function. An anonymous function. But since you're passing an argument here to this function, this one would also take a parameter. You could call it value. And then here you say whatever you want to do with that value, you can console.log. You can console.log the value, which is what you have here. So now, if I execute this function, you see that we still have the value 45, right? So what we did here is we declared the function, and then we passed in a callback function here, which we called inside our inside this first function, which is the declaration. Then when we are calling the function, we pass in a callback function, which is called inside this function. So this is how a callback function works. This is how you write it here, and this is how you use it. You just simply call it this way. And then now another thing you can do is you can pass in more arguments to your callback based on how you want it to work. It's your design. Well, so this function keyword is if you're writing an anonymous function. If you're using an arrow function, which is always an default, anonymous by default, you can remove this part, this function, and then you can put in that arrow to make it an arrow function. So doing that will still give you the same results. Clear NodeScript, it still gives you exactly the same results. Okay, so if you want it to be this way, or you want to write the normal function, right, without giving the function a name, of course, then both actually work. So anyone. And if you decide to pass A, B, and results, for example, let's say A, B, and results, do well to also use it here. So you can say parameter 1, parameter 2, and then value. So you can say something like, you can say the result of adding this and the result of adding this and this is that. So let's see what this would give us. The result of adding 25 and 20 is 45. So that's how you write a callback function this way. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has any question based on what we've done so far. Is there any question? Is there any question? Okay, so in the absence of questions, I think we can actually call it a day with this class. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for also staying to this time. Although I know it was rough, right from the starting till now. But if you're still here, hey, thank you. And I'll see you in the next class.
I have